How's it going, everybody? This is Scott, also known as Cha-Ching King, and I'm going to talk to you today about how to create an ad on eBay that sells. And before I jump into that, let me tell you a little bit about me and how my wife and I got into reselling to begin with. I opened an eBay account back in the heydays of 1999. And I had a lumber mill, and I would sell lumber and things like that when you could afford to ship it. And slowly I moved into woodworking tools and things like that. In 2018, I retired from my job as a school superintendent. And my wife and I started selling a much wider variety of things. And now we focus mainly on vintage items and vintage clothes. And since 2018, we have done almost $350,000 in sales. So we've learned a little bit along the way, and if I can keep you from making the same mistakes that we made, then that's what I'm here to do. Let's get to it. Before we dive into the details, let me tell you why creating a great ad is so important, why your listing makes a difference in your business. I looked this morning before I got up to do this, and as of today, on eBay, if you just search for vintage Levi's, there were over 84,000 listed. And if you look at how many have sold, there's only 24,000 that have sold. While that's a decent sell-through rate for a vintage item, you can tell that there's a ton of competition, and we want to win that competition. Competition doesn't just exist for something as popular as vintage Levi's. It actually spills over into a lot of different categories. For example, I also looked up the 48 star US flag has 1,400 listed and only 350 sold. They're pretty easy to sell, but there's still going to be some stiff competition for it. So what I've done today is I've broke down the different parts of a listing and some not complicated, but some key things for you to look at that will make your listings show up better in the algorithm, show up better in the searches, and help you sell your item. So let's talk about what those things are. On eBay, all of it starts with the title. The title is one of the most important things that you're going to work on. And there's some really key things that you can do to make your title better. One of those things is the eBay title bar allows 80 characters. And if you're not using the 80 characters, you're missing out. And let me explain why. There is a direct correlation between the number of characters used in the title and the amount of sales that happen with those items. You're going to sell significantly more items that for people that have used all 80 characters versus people that have used 50 characters. And there's a distinct difference. So let's talk about what goes into that title. It's not a matter of just filling it up with things that aren't related to your item. It's a matter of knowing your item well enough that you can put key words in there that define your item. And first, before we get into that in a little bit more detail, I do want to caution you. I see it a lot. I see people that put all caps in their title bar, and that doesn't help you. It doesn't make yours stick out more. In fact, my understanding is, and coming directly from eBay, is that the search engine misses a lot of those. It is perfectly fine to capitalize the first letter of every word, but you do not want to capitalize the whole words. So that's number one. That's something easy to fix. Two, don't put abbreviations in there. There are a few abbreviations that are part of eBay search engine, but for the most part, you want to put entire keywords that are directly related to your item. And you want to fill that title bar up. For example, if you just listed vintage Levi's, that is not going to be enough for yours to stand out from the 84,000 that are listed. You want to put the specifics of yours. Are they distressed? Are they bell bottoms? Are they straight leg, taper leg? You want to put enough information in there that you've taken advantage of all the space that you have, and you've created enough information that when somebody does a search, your keywords are going to be some of the ones that they searched for. Super, super important. If the title isn't the most important thing in your listing, it's the pictures. Title is going to bring somebody to you. And they've done a search, and now you've done a good job on the title. You've filled it up. You've got words that are directly related to what it is you're selling, and now they found the page, and yours is there. So now the title is going to help some, but your title has already got you to the search page. Now it's going to come down to your pictures. Pictures are so incredibly important, and in this day and age, they're not that difficult. So let's talk about what that takes to have a great picture for eBay. One of the things that you want to do is to remember that most modern smartphones can take a perfectly adequate picture for eBay. You do not need a DSLR lens camera. You don't have to have something fancy. My setup in my house is pretty simple. We use our camera. I've got a couple of pieces of white foam core for the smaller items, and I'll use a couple if it's a bigger one. And we take really nice, clear pictures. Now, we do take our time, and we take a nice, clear picture. Fuzzy pictures don't tell the buyer what they need to know about your item. Occasionally, you'll have an item that you want to clean up, and there's a lot of different apps out there. We use it's free, it's Photo Room. It doesn't matter which app you use, and I'm not getting any money from them from saying it, but I will take their money if they give it to me. But Photo Room, as of the last time I've tested a bunch of different apps, Photo Room did the best job. Very simple. It leaves a little watermark, but if you take your picture from far enough away, you can crop that right out, and you end up with a very, very nice, clean-looking picture. The clean pictures help from a couple of different vantage points. One is, it's if you have a white background, and trust me, I fought the white background because I have a very cool actual old beadboard wall that I use, and it looks fantastic in the pictures. But remember, we want to sell this item. I'm not a collector, and I definitely don't want to do all of this work just to show off my stuff to everybody. I want items that people can see it, they can then identify it, and they can tell whether or not it's going to work for them. And so a white background removes all distractions. I don't put anything in my pictures that I'm not sending with it. I don't have decorative items or anything like that because I'm not sending them those things. I don't want any confusion. I don't want to have to explain anywhere that, well, all you're getting is this. If it's in my picture, that's what I'm sending. And so take very clear pictures. Get a white background if you can. I haven't seen a big difference. One of the things eBay was pushing is that if you have a white background, you'll show up more in the Google searches. I haven't seen that. It hasn't really, for me, that hasn't made any difference. But it does create consistency in my store. My items all look very similar, and they're very clean and they're very nice. So once you've got a nice clean picture, the photos play another important role. You can have up to 12 pictures, and I don't always have 12. A lot of times I'll have 7 or 8, but most of the time I utilize all the pictures that they've got. And there's one is I want to give an overall impression of the item that I'm selling. And then there's 2 other things that I want to show in those photos. I want to show all the cool stuff. If there is something in mine that I think separates it from the others, I want to show that off. I want mine to be the one that stands out. And so I highlight those items. Whether that's an old vintage jacket with a Talon zipper, I want to show that Talon zipper. So I show the details that make mine cool, and that helps it sell. And the second thing I want to show is every significant flaw that I can find on it. I don't want the customer to get it and be surprised in a negative way about the condition. And my photos can do far more for that than I could ever accomplish in my description, or ever accomplish with my condition notes, are the pictures. And so if I'm selling that vintage pair of Levi's and they're covered in patches, which are very cool, but I want to show them because somebody else may not understand that patches may mean a lot of wear. And so I'm going to show it and give very, very clear pictures of that. If you do those things where you've got a nice, clear picture to attract them to where they will click on yours, and there's pictures to go through, half this battle is already done. Half this battle is already done. And so you got to have a clean title to get them there, nice clear pictures to get them to click in and go look at it. So what comes next? Let's take a look at that. The next one shouldn't be complicated. Sometimes it is. It is very, very important for you to list your item in the correct category. And there's a lot of different ways that you end up having it in the wrong category. One is if you copy ads from somebody else and then you change everything to make it fit your own. The category is one of the ones that's so easy to overlook because it's already filled in. Theirs worked, but you don't really want to do that. There are people that search solely within a category. There are people that if you're looking for vintage Levi's, they're going to look in just vintage and disregard everything else because they don't want to see those things. When that becomes a problem is if the vintage Levi's that you've chosen the category from are just from jeans or just from men's pants or women's pants. And so choosing the category, one of the easiest things to fix, but it's also one of the things that gets overlooked. And so make absolutely sure that you've chosen the correct category and then just hope eBay doesn't change that category on you and mess your item up altogether, which they have done recently. But you choose the correct category and maybe you can get your piece sold before they change anything. All right, the next one is the elephant in the room. There is something that you're going to have to do on eBay that it's really, truly important, but at least for me, by far the most aggravating thing on eBay, and that is the item specifics. This is something that eBay brought in a few years ago, supposedly to help create a better experience for the buyers. I don't know about that. I haven't had a single buyer ever message me and say, gosh, this was so easy to find your item by clicking on the specifics. But the reality of it is the item specifics are there and you want your item to show up. And the title is going to do most of the work. Your pictures are going to get them to click on it. But if you don't fill out the item specifics, you might get overlooked entirely where the engine completely passes your item. And again, for me personally, I could not be more unhappy with item specifics as far as it being a time suck. And I'm not sure that it's helped the customers at all. But I do know that if I don't do it, my items are not going to be competitive on eBay. And so my recommendation for that is fill out everything that you can that is related to your item. And what that means is on some of them, I would never leave blank. I never leave the brand blank. And I do vintage stuff, so I end up with a lot of things that don't have a brand. There's no brand at all. I'm going to type in unbranded. One is, you'd be amazed at how many people are searching for things that are unbranded. They're trying to find something specific and they don't want to see the mall brands. They don't want to see those things. So if I put in unbranded, I may catch a few people just like that have looked for something specifically for that. But fill in the item specifics to the greatest extent that you can because the search engine is pulling from those. And again, it's hard to keep up with. And every time there's an update, those things get messed up. But the reality of it is that that's the platform that we're working on. And short of moving away from it, it's one of the evils that we're going to have to fight until they find a smoother and maybe a more modern way for them to handle that. So now that I got that out of the way, some of the other things that we get to do are so much easier and might speed up your listing a little bit. But let's talk about some of those. The next two things I usually do in tandem. I do them at about the same time when I'm creating a listing. And that is the condition notes and the description. And I will normally start with the condition notes. And so what I put in the condition notes is I don't want to have any situation where I didn't point out a flaw. And it isn't a matter of talking down my item. And honestly, I think it builds confidence in the customers. When I have a detailed description of what I see that's wrong, it builds confidence on them that I've disclosed what I do know about, what I can see. And so let's talk about, say, I've got a vintage Carhartt jacket. And let's say that it's thrashed. And if you do vintage clothes at all, you'll know that vintage Carhartt jackets, sell really, really well. And the more torn up they are, the better they do. But in my condition notes, I'm going to be very specific about what's wrong with it. Now, to the extent that sometimes you're going to have an item that is truly worn. And I have gone as far to say in my listing that if you are worried that this item is too worn for you, it probably is. Because with those kind of items, I'm looking for a specific buyer. I'm looking for the thrasher kid who wants that thing worn out. And all of those kind of things help me sell that item. I go straight from the condition notes. I copy those. After I've typed them, got them the way that I want them, I copy the condition notes and I paste them into my description. And I also go back up to the title and I copy the title and paste that above the condition notes. And what that does for me is, one is I have stated what's wrong or right with my item more than once. Having the title down there, I've already retyped the brand if it's there, the size, all of those important details are right there. And I just basically flesh that out. The description is also the place where if there is something specific to my ad, a special shipping condition, you have something that has to be shipped in 2 boxes or something like that, I will mention it there. I actually love the description part. It has saved me so many troubles with eBay, with customers. Here's something that I think is really important. A successful ad doesn't just sell. A successful ad stays sold. I don't want it back. I don't want to lose my time or money or efforts that it took to sell it. So when I sell it, I don't want it back. And a lot of times in the description, I can avoid some of those things by pointing out, say, even though it's in the condition notes, you have to take a look at pictures 7 and 8 and you'll get a better idea of the damage to the bottom of the jeans. And I don't want there to be a surprise. I just want the customer to know what they're buying, be comfortable beforehand, and the description is a place that I can do that. I do think it's effective. I spend a little bit more time on my ads, but I have a 1.8% return rate, and that's pretty good, especially dealing with a lot of the different genres that we do, everything from dolls to vintage clothing to I still have a few woodworking tools. So once you've got your condition notes done, you've got your description done, you're not quite finished. There's some other really, really important things. And one thing I think is really important, and we'll see what you think. But let's talk about some of the variables at the bottom of the ad, at the bottom of your listing that make a big difference on how your business runs. Okay, so there's a few things that you're going to have to make decisions about for your business, not for my business. And the best I can do is tell you how I run my business and if it works for us or not. And one of those is, should you accept returns? And I'm strongly going to suggest to you that you should. But let me not just say that. Let me tell you why. You have all heard the argument that buyers feel more comfortable buying from somebody that accepts returns because they know that if there's a problem, they can send it back. And that's true. Totally true. That is not the reason that I accept returns. I accept returns because the vast majority of people I deal with on eBay are good people. They're just regular people. And sometimes those people get something and they want to return it. And I want them to be able to. I hear a lot about scammers. And I have dealt with a few. I have dealt with a few that I am positive they were either stealing my item or stealing my money. But it's only a small fraction. And remember, it's only a small fraction for us of that 1.8%. It's an even smaller percentage of the time that is a scammer. And here's something, if you stop and think about it, that you're going to find true all the time of people that are willing to scam you. If you don't have returns, all they have to do is lie and say that it wasn't as described. And guess what? They get to have a return anyway. And so me accepting returns doesn't help or hurt them. It doesn't do anything for whatever they're trying to run. I don't expose myself any more at all. And I help out people that actually want to do business with me. And so we accept returns. My strong recommendation is that you accept returns, because you're not going to scare off the scammers with a policy that says they can't anyway, because they already know how to get it returned. So very strong recommendation. But you got to make sure it works for you. If that's something that just sticks in your gut, then maybe that's not right for you. That's not the only thing that we need to talk about, though. One of the other things that you're going to see, and it's been debated a lot, is shipping. Do you charge for shipping? Do you not charge for shipping? And there's no doubt at all that free shipping, people are attracted to it. A lot of people won't even look to see that here's the one with free shipping, and if you take the cost of the other item plus shipping, it's only cost this much. And they buy this one because it was free shipping. And so the recommendation is you should offer free shipping. But you remember earlier when I said, unless something just sticks in your gut, for my business model, free shipping doesn't work. I hate it. I just hate it. And the sales, the extra sales that I get, don't offset the angst it gives me for having free shipping. We try to charge as close to the actual shipping cost as we can. If it's a little under, I eat it, and if it's a little bit over, I don't do anything. But if it's over very much at all, I just send the customer a refund for it. And for me, that makes me feel better. There is one benefit to having a shipping charge in there, is when I run a sale, I don't have to factor in, don't forget, if I do this bigger percentage, I might be cutting into shipping. I could lose money. I'm really truly only giving a percentage of the actual item cost, and the shipping is separate. And so for me, that's a lot easier for me to calculate and not run into a problem with that. Or at least that's how I justify. I charge for shipping. It hasn't had a dramatic impact on our business. I have tried it the other way, and it didn't provide me any real value as far as increased sales. That depends a lot on the area that you're, the categories that you list in. We do so much vintage stuff. A lot of times I have the only one, so I'm not competing with somebody else that has the exact same item. So that could make a difference too. But again, it's an area you're going to have to make a decision and then be consistent with it as much as you can be and as much as it fits individual items. Let's talk about what type of listing you want to create. There's two main types, and that's buy it now and auctions. And let me tell you how we do it and the reasons that we do it that way. The vast majority of everything we do is buy it now. And there are a few times that I run an auction, and let me tell you what those few times are. If I have an item that I know is very, very desirable, and there are a lot of people chasing it, and I'm not sure where the upper end of that price range is. Like, I'm not sure how high could this go. Is this an item that's going to go for $150 or $350? And I'm willing to see just how high up it can get. On some of those items, then I will run an auction. And so that brings us to price. How are you going to price your item? That also is a business model decision. Are you, I want this stuff in, gone, quick flip, and if I make a small percentage on it, but I'm moving this stuff quickly, that is a 100% viable business. And that works for a ton of people. But it's a personal thing. Melody and I, we do a long tail business. We don't mind an item sitting for a year or two. We have some really unusual stuff that's going to sit. So that plays into how you price an item. If I want to move something quickly, then when I take a look at that price range, I want to come in down here. I want mine in that quick flip range. I want it to people look at it and say, that's a great price. I want that item. Let's get that in and get it bought. I'm in a different range. I don't mind sitting on it, and I don't mind waiting, and I price mine higher. And sometimes those things sell right away, and you're like, I probably didn't price it high enough. But a lot of times they will wait, and I wait for the right buyer. We're going to wrap this up, and let me give you a few things to keep in mind as you move forward creating a great listing. I think the most important thing to keep in mind when you're doing a listing is that you're trying to catch the attention of a buyer, impress them, and convince them in a very short period of time that yours is the item that they're looking for. And there are, obviously creating the listing is not the first step. The first step, and I'm sure somebody else will cover that, is finding great stuff, finding stuff other people want to sell or other people want to buy. And this lesson doesn't disregard any of that. It is assuming that you found things that are worth selling. But you still have competition, and you need to attract people in there. And so you've got a listing with a title. That's the first part that search engine is going to do. It's got 80 characters. Use them. Use them. Pay attention to spelling, and because if you misspell one of your keywords, it isn't helping you, and it's not going to help anything find you. A nice clean ad, as much information into those 80 characters as you can possibly get that will convince somebody to click on it and to open it. And when you take your pictures, you want it to be informational. You want them to see those pictures, and it's not a matter of trying to show off your photography skills. You want them to look at what you've got and think, oh, I know exactly what this is. I can tell exactly what they've got. And it's easy for them to make a decision that this will work for me. Whatever the flaws are, whatever it is, I know that's what I'm looking for. And your pictures will tell that story better than anything else. Make sure you got it in the right category. It doesn't do you any good if somebody else is searching only in that category. You've got the perfect item that they need, but yours isn't in that category, so they never see it. So that's an easy one to fix. Make sure that your item specifics are as detailed as possible, so that whatever that search engine is doing with them, you've got an opportunity to have yours found. Make sure that your condition notes are clear and thorough. You want to make sure that they're thorough. Copy your title and your condition notes down into your description. Flesh out your description with anything specific to how you're going to have to ship it or anything like that. And make sure you tell them to go back and look at the pictures because they're part of the description. And then, depending upon your business model, that's when you decide buy it now or auctions. Auctions are great if you just want to sell everything. We use it when we're cleaning out old inventory, and at that point, we don't care what it brings. We just try and cover our costs. Or you want to do buy it now because you know what your stuff is worth and you know the right buyer will come along. You decide whether your business model can afford to, whether or not you want to include the shipping in the price, or whether or not you want to do it separate. And the big thing about all of that on the shipping is just don't surprise them, so that they know when they buy it what they're spending. Global shipping, of course, is a different deal. You have a little impact on that, but and that's it. We make pretty good ads. We aren't the kind of sellers who put up 30, 40, 50 items a day. We're trying to list more money's worth than what we hope to sell every day. So, our goal is to make, $300-400 a day, and in our retirement income, that's pretty good money, and it allows us to give away a lot. It allows us to travel a little bit, and it allows us to work together. So I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope it was valuable. I will have the notes for this available as a download for anybody that wants them, if you think that it'll help you. I appreciate you tuning in, and if you haven't ever done so, I would love it if you would head over to Cha-Ching King on YouTube and check out some of my videos and give me a subscribe if you find stuff there that you like. You're welcome to follow me on Instagram. I've been on Instagram for quite a while, and it's Cha-Ching King on there as well. And I'm pretty responsive to questions and things like that if there's ever anything I can do to help. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks.